Wow, this is somewhat overwhelming, I gotta say. Thank you very much to the Recording Academy. This is such a great honor, particularly for me, having been a musician before. I always dreamt that one day I'd get a Grammy Award, and so I get it now. Sometimes I have a hard time explaining to people what I do for a living. I found that the following usually works pretty well. I'll say, do you remember back in the early 1980s when pop music started using drum machines and consequently lost all of its soul and humanness? Well, I'd say, it's my fault. I'm a very lucky guy. To me, there's nothing more personally gratifying than to create a new musical product, release it to the world, and watch how it affects this wonderful art of music. I can only make the brush. The artist chooses what to paint with it, and there have been some beautiful paintings that have been made. There are a few people I'd like to thank. The first is Leon Russell, whom I worked with at the age of 20. Yeah, Leon Russell. I worked with Leon at the age of 20 as a recording engineer and occasional guitarist. Leon taught me a tremendous amount about music and music production, but he also taught me the value of using the then primitive drum machines during recording as a way of keeping the timing steady. It was also a great time because whenever I wanted to buy a new piece of gear, I could usually convince Leon that he needed to buy it. I'd like to thank my brother Steve Linn, who's in the audience tonight, who was the general manager of my first company, Linn Electronics, and was a big part of that company's success. I'd also like to thank all of the engineers who helped make the products along the way. In particular is a fellow named Alan Trimble, who was the main software engineer on the MPC products, the MPC drum machines, and then Dan Ash, who was the main software engineer on the Adrenaline guitar products. But most importantly, I'd like to thank my wife Ingrid, who's here with us tonight. Ingrid is not only a constant source of love and inspiration, but also, unlike me, she's a real engineer, and she helps me with the higher math algorithms that I don't really understand very well. I think you've given me this award because years ago I saw a revolution before it happened, and that was the revolution of putting little computers inside musical instruments. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's another revolution coming, one that I'm very excited about. It's a revolution of new high-tech musical instruments that will be able to capture the subtle finger and hand gestures of a virtuoso performance as well or better than traditional instruments, but with the advantages of intelligent software assistance. As just one example, imagine performing a virtuoso violin solo on an instrument that automatically corrects your pitch at the start of each note, but permits you to full control of your subsequent vibrato or glissandi. This is like having frets when you want them, but not when you don't, something impossible on a mechanical instrument. A few of these new instruments have recently appeared on the market, and we have our own coming, rogerlinndesign.com. But I believe they'll really open a whole new field of creativity in music, and I'm very excited about it. And maybe, just maybe, these new instruments will seduce some of the young musicians away from loops and beats back to notes and melodies, something I'm very happy, I would be very happy to see. I'm kind of on a one-man campaign to save the note from extinction. In conclusion, I can think of nothing more exciting than to be a small part of this new revolution, and I thank you very, very much for this kind award. Good night.